it's like, we want to buy a house. It's like, well, are you pre-qualified yet? Or do you have a pre-approval yet? And that's usually where, I'll send them to you to go ahead and start that process. So what does that look like? What are the expectations for a lender? What should a buyer have ahead of time so that it makes your job easier and it makes their job easier?
So, the most important things are going to be income and assets.
Hmm.
That's going to be the most important things that I want to see whenever working on an application and working on that initial pre approval,
Hmm.
because I want to make sure that I am pre approving them for an amount that they actually can afford. And it's not just, them going off of what they're telling me. Sometimes people underestimate their income, sometimes people overestimate their income. So I want to see all that documentation up front so that when
Hmm.
I give a pre approval letter, we know that they actually qualify for what they're out going shopping for.
Right. And I know I've worked with other lenders in the past that sometimes, a person thinks that they qualify for a lot more that because they rattled off some numbers. But it's
Hmm.
not only the income, it's also what's going out, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I'm sure that sometimes you'll see that too when a person makes X amount of dollars, but they happen to have a higher, just higher on the expenses side. So,
Right. So we look at their, of course, when we do an application, we're going to pull their credit. So that's where we're going to pull that from. I'm usually they're going to have to send me or bring me their income and asset information.
mhm.
But yes, that is another big factor is making sure that they don't have too much going out compared to what do they have going in. And I can also look at with them, you know, maybe we can pay some things off to
Mm.
lower their debts and make sure that they can qualify. In some cases, on an installment loan, depending on the loan program we're going with, they can pay down the loan that they have 10 months or less payments left, and I can exclude that without paying it off too. So we
Hmm.
just have to get creative with everybody and seeing, everybody's going to be different. So when somebody comes in and they're
Yeah.
like, well, so and so told me they got this program and that's the best one, I always kind of break open with, well, you're going to have a completely different qualification process than that person because every single person is a different process. No mortgage
Hmm.
application is ever the same.
That's so true. That's true. Um, I have worked with people in the past that have said, well, I want to pay everything off. I want to pay everything off first before I even start the process. I mean, is that always a good thing for them to go about that, to paying everything off or?
Not always. Sometimes paying something off can hurt your credit score versus make
Mm,
it better. So I think that it's always better to talk to your mortgage lender first and do an application. Because why spend the money on paying things off if you really don't need to? You can reserve that money to invest into the home if it's not only for the closing, but after you move in, you're most likely going to want new things. So rather than spending all your assets up front, let's talk about it and see what actually would make a difference. If it's credit they're worried about and their
mhm.
scores, we can take a look and see, well, if you pay just this thing off, then it might increase your score to this. And I can look at that and go over that with every borrower individually.
Okay. So it really isn't a one size fits all sort of thing. I think that that's important for people to know.